Hello and welcome to this week's practice about effortless determination. Effortless determination is what we do in meditation. That is how we behave, that is how we practice. And it's an interesting mixture because we meditators are in touch with suffering basically all the time. There's a lot of talk about suffering among meditators in all the talks and discussions. Because that's what we do. We look deeply into the nature of our mind, our thoughts, and the emotions generated by our thoughts, and into the suffering we experience in life, which seems to be unavoidable because getting older, for example, or illnesses, or even death are definitely not avoidable. So that's why we are never surprised when suffering shows up. We are the ones that are quite well prepared for the appearance of suffering in our lives and in the life of others. And that's one side. And it might seem a little heavy. It might seem a little full of suffering and of pain and resistance. But there's another side to our practice. And that other side is basically weightless, very light, because it's made of air, like the very pleasant wind I'm experiencing here now. One of the last days of winter, and the sun is already warm, but the wind is still cold, and that's a very pleasant mixture which breathes through me. And that's what we do when we practice. We breathe and we focus, we concentrate on breathing, and breathing is air. So that helps a lot to get into that space of weightlessness. But it's only the beginning. Concentration on breath is what helps us, is the practice that helps us to get back, especially to get back from whenever we relapse and find ourselves momentarily again in that heavy realm of suffering. So we just remember, okay, I'm thinking, let's get back. And we get back. We get back to our breath, to the object of our attention. And while doing so, we pay attention and we distinguish. And that's what makes our practice special. We distinguish. Because what comes from that side of suffering might seem heavy, but let's have a look at it. And we do that in meditation. We look very carefully at what appears in our minds, in our body, in our sensations, in our emotions, and in what we perceive as the world around us. Very carefully we perceive what exactly is that. If it's thinking, if it's thoughts, then I do not analyze my thoughts. I'm not interested in what are they about, where do they come from. But I very, very closely pay attention to what quality do they have. They might be thoughts of aversion. I'm against something, I don't agree, I'm not happy with something. Or they might be thoughts of attachment. My mind likes something, wants something, requests something. And I noticed that. And very carefully get back to my breathing without following these thoughts or this chain of thoughts. So I notice something else. I notice that my thinking is not very reliable. It changes all the time. And it's made of air again. There's nothing there. There's thinking, and if I get back to breath, that thinking disappears, changes, goes away, or might even remain, might even get stronger, but doesn't have any power over me. If I manage to get back to my breathing, and it's not difficult, I can do that. And these thoughts lose their power over me. They don't cause anything anymore, and get very light as well. They lose their weight. They lose their power of creating suffering, of creating chaos. And we do that not only with thoughts, we do that with everything we encounter, basically, like physical sensations which appear, show up, and I notice them. And also here I do not follow them. They appear in order to help me to break free. We do that with emotions and with any body perception. It might be pleasant or unpleasant. So also those things lose their weight, lose their power over me. And so I can basically notice that the whole heaviness of that one side is not true, is not reality, it's not real, it's not the reality. So effortless determination is the mixture with which we perceive reality in our minds and outside without losing ourselves in that reality. That's very pleasant, very joyful and playful, and at the same time very determined, because we never forget that suffering is everywhere, is a part of life, unavoidable, if we identify with it, if we take it seriously, if we allow ourselves to feel all the weight it might have at the beginning only. So let's practice. Let's practice in one guided meditation together about being light while accepting all the weight. Have a good practice. Thank you.